Welcome to another episode of Mindful City, Tuning into Life, a podcast to discover and celebrate the many ways that our city is using mindfulness in our practical daily lives. Welcome to another episode of Mindful City, Tuning into Life. And today we have our special guest, Maria Shedler-Luera, who is the founder and owner of Atomica Arts. I met Maria through our interest in Ayurveda and our journey into becoming a certified Ayurveda practitioner, counselor and practitioner. And we definitely connected on many levels. One of the ways is that our doshas
are the same.
Our doshas are the same. And obviously we both had that interest. And so we immediately connected. And I shared same month of the birth. I can't believe that too. Same year. And we're both from South America.
That's right. So many connections.
So I think it was really beautiful. And I definitely knew that Maria would have to be on a Mindful City episode. Because knowing from her, I've learned a lot about her ability and her desire to use arts in the form of healing. And I knew that all the listeners would truly benefit in learning so much more about how we can use the arts into healing. So we had to have you on this show. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's my honor. And so I wanted to start off by just letting you introduce yourself, because you could probably do it a little better than I can. But just to let us know how your journey led you to starting with the healing arts and Atomica Arts.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you. So my name is Maria Shedler-Luera, and I'm originally from Brazil, where I spent so far most of my life still. When I moved to the U.S., to pursue a musical theater program, and I was faced with being an immigrant, learning a language and learning a culture, while also learning just the social layers and how American society worked. And in that program, of course, I was, dealing with all kinds of frustration from not being able to communicate in the beginning because I didn't speak English. And so I had the arts. I always had the arts as a way to just show my emotions if I didn't know how to communicate. And I did that through singing and dancing and then through theater. And so that was just like how I have personally used in that big transition of my life. And then I realized how lucky and fortunate and privileged I was that as an immigrant, I was here in this country involved in the arts, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then it's like, that's not the norm. And that's not how people normally engage in American society when they come from other countries. And so that started igniting this wish in me to I need to use this responsibly, and I need to use this to help other people, because art was a bridge. Not just it helped me actually learn the language, but it helped me learn in an environment that it made me feel safe. I created a community, and I learned a lot about myself. In theater, we always ask those questions of who am I and what's my purpose, and to be or not to be. That is the question. And you, for me, theater, the work that I've done in theater, as I look back now, I see it's been my yoga, right? Through all these years, because it had the movement, it had the work with the senses. It was definitely something that always brought me to the present moment. It made me realize who I was as a person and also where I wanted to be. And I love all the art forms for that. And
what a way to learn a culture, though.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have thought. I have to tell you honestly, probably 10 years into being here, I realized it's the one thing I missed that I didn't get to participate in. And one of the things I felt was that I couldn't, because I didn't think that I understood the culture. And I thought, how am I even going to be an artist here?
Right.
Because I'm not, originally from here. I don't understand. But now with the courage that you had, I'm thinking, what a way to really understand the culture then through its arts.
Right. Absolutely. And it's true, right? I mean, I was in the world of entertainment a little more, if that I was training to be a professional performer. And then I did work as a professional performer for a while, until I started using theater as a tool and the arts as a tool, not just in my life, but also to help other people, to bridge them to understand their situations and their cultures and yes. whatever things that they were going through. I love all of the art forms, and I'm close to all of them. And, we have music, which is beautiful and wonderful. It has so many purposes, but, I see it as like a way to organize silence in space. I mean, in time, silence in time, right? It organizes that. And then painting or a visual art will organize colors and shapes and textures in yes. space. And then theater organizes human actions in time and space. Yes. And so it's really the art of looking at ourselves. And what I like about it is that as a creation, as our own creation, it could be a tool for us to change our future as well, right? Yeah. So Shakespeare said the theater is a mirror that shows our vices and virtues. Well, theater can be a magical mirror. Yeah. Like if you look at the image and you don't like the image, you enter the mirror and you change the image. When you change the image, you're changing yourself. And when you change yourself, you're changing the world. So I've, through my self-inquiry work in theater and doing all kinds of theater work with people throughout the years, specifically I have followed the work of my mentor, Augusto Boal, who created the Theater of the Oppressed. Okay. And the idea of Theater of the Oppressed is to empower the oppressed. Like he was a theater director in Brazil during military dictatorship times and had, was arrested and tortured and went to exile. And he left and passed through many countries until he ended up in Europe. In every country, he developed a different technique. And the idea was to reinstate dialogue in the communities, because if for him, if there is oppression, there's monologue only, right? Yes. And then there's a passive audience who is just there listening. What
drew you to his work? Because I was actually wondering how you even got into.
Well, it was the fact that I became an immigrant, and even though he was a forced immigrant because he went on exile. I chose to leave my country and move here. But I stumbled upon some of his texts while I was in grad school, and I was just like amazed, like, how did I not discover this before? But it was the right time because I also could understand everything he was writing, but a different perspective, again, from a very privileged perspective that I can also use this tool for myself, but if I know of this tool, I need to share this tool for like other people to also appreciate and enjoy and use in their lives, right? And when I discovered that, I had to, at the time, figure out a way to study with him, and I was very fortunate that I could do that. And I was writing my master's thesis at the time, and so I did my whole graduate work around this kind of theater. And unfortunately, he passed away 10 years ago. But his work is present in so many countries all over the world.
So it's called Theater
of the Oppressed.
Theater for
the Oppressed. Yeah. So the idea is to empower those that are oppressed. And oppression is a very big word. And I know it's hard for, like, some people don't like the word, but there are all kinds of oppressions. It's not just external, but there's also internal oppression, right? And of course, when he started this, he started talking about external oppression, right? There was a military dictatorship happening. Right. But when he ended up in Europe at the end of his career, he realized that there was, the government was not oppressing people. People had everything that they needed, but still the number of suicides was really high. And he got really concerned. It's like, and started asking the question, like, what's happening here? Why are people have everything they need, and why are they killing themselves? And so that's when he delved deeper into that kind of internal oppression that people had. And created one of the most beautiful techniques that I love using in my work called Rainbow of Desire. When what we do is just like we borrow from the theatrical language and we apply that to our lives, right? Actors who are on stage, they're aware of language that they use. They're aware of their feelings and their bodies and how what they say is interpreted by the other character, right? we in real life, we're not aware of those things, right,
Yes.
all the time. But we play many roles every day. We, just like actors, we're playing roles.
Mm-hmm.
We are the protagonists of our own lives, and we're playing different roles. I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a wife,
Exactly.
right? I'm playing different roles. I use different language for all those situations. I may use different costumes for all the situations if I'm at, at work and all of that.
Exactly.
Different language as well, right? But I'm not aware. And so theater allows us to be aware of our own lives and the roles we play, so we don't identify with the roles. We realize that we're the player of the roles and the director and the writer. Yeah. And so if we are all of those things, how about we write the end we want, right?
Exactly.
And then we can think of our journey, our hero's journey, in a way that empowers us.
It's interesting because, in my years of Raja Yoga meditation, that's a concept that's a very important part, is to see everyone as an actor.
Yes.
And to see everyone as playing their part.
Yes.
And I've really tried over the years to really view life and my relationships and people in that way. Sometimes it can seem as if you're separating yourself from it, but I feel when you separate and step away from it and then re-enter, but then you're aware of the roles that are being played.
Right.
And it's so interesting because I do see that observation all the time.
Yes.
And when you look at it that way, I feel there's a little more of a joy in watching that.
Oh,
like when you go to a play, you do know that there's going to be sad parts and happy parts and this, but you don't leave from that completely like, I can't take it anymore.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
You really know that that's part of what you're seeing. But sometimes in our lives, we don't always, see it that way.
We identify with the roles.
So much with that. So how do you help people transition into that experience? How do you bridge that?
Yeah. So there are different techniques we use. And so when I, after many years of, working in applied theater, actually, I discovered meditation. I went to a meditation retreat. And when I started learning about what meditation was, I made so many connections with theater, because it is, for me, theater is that art of looking at human actions and the art of looking at ourselves, which meditation is. So if theater allow me to understand that I play roles, but I'm not the roles I play, I'm the player, meditation allowed me to realize I have thoughts, but I'm not the thoughts I think. I'm just the thinker of the thoughts. Right. And so all these connections made me want to become a meditation teacher, and so incorporate all those. And so what I'm currently doing is like just putting it all together. So I started my own business, and in Atomica Arts. Yes, Atomica Arts, we have, our tagline is pure potential, right? And the Atomica comes actually from the atom. So the idea of like the small particle that exists, and that, from that nothing, from that little thing, nothing, everything can be created, right? Or anything can be created. Yes. And so that's that pure potential of an atom, the pure potential of all of us, the pure potential of silence, the pure potential that you have when you realize you are the player, and you can enjoy playing the roles, right? And determine somehow the outcome as you would like it to be as well. Why not? Because you were saying like you're the player, you're the actor, but you're also the director. You're the director. You're the writer. You're the producer. Like you're all of those in your own life. And so it's a lot of power when you realize that. And then use that to change the story. We're always feeling like such a victim of life. So many are like, oh, this happened to me and poor me. And yes, there are unfortunate things that happen, but we're projecting everything that's happening. We're creating everything that's happening all the time. And so if we change how we think about that, if we change how we make our choices, like for our characters, then we can change the outcome for that character and what to do with that, right? Theater is also all about conflict and tension, but there is also resolution. So how can you learn from that tension, from that problem, right? There's just so many things. I am now, it's just another language and another tool for people. Like a lot of people just gravitate towards meditation only to come to the same conclusions, but it's easier sometimes for some people to actually role play a situation, to then be able to observe what's happening in that situation.
Right, because it really takes you out of the being in it role as in the observer.
Exactly.
And you can see better when you're observing them.
And then you become what Augusto Boal used to call a spect actor, not a spectator. Right? You're a spect actor, so you take turns. You sometimes watch and observe, and sometimes you act.
Yes.
So you're both. We are both the spectator and the actor, so we're a spect actor.
Yes, I love that. So you don't even pronounce it spectator.
No, I say spect actor.
I think I'm going to be adding that to my vocabulary. So that's why it's very unique what you're trying to do with Atomica Arts. And what do you see? And you have several tools. You have meditation, applied theater, and ayurveda.
Yes.
And so you're including all three in this part which I love what you were saying about the atom, is to get, people to experience their pure potential. How do all these three work together?
Yes. Thanks for asking. I love that question. Well, so Atomica Arts is a combination of those three pillars. So meditation, we define as the art of looking at ourselves, right? To become the observer. Then theater is the art of looking at human action. So you are the observer of your life, but also your observer of everything around you. So you're just, understanding from that perspective. And Ayurveda is the art of self-care, right? And I, we truly believe that the combination of those three arts is the art of social change, because if you use meditation, theater, and Ayurveda to develop your pure potential, then you're going to be changing yourself. And as you change yourself, you're changing people around you, and that's how you change the world, right? And so my way to become a citizen in this world and just really do something is to use these tools to help people, including myself, to become our life's protagonists and conscious choice makers. And that includes a healthy lifestyle. And that's how Ayurveda got into the mix as well, and which is something that I stumbled upon in my meditation work as well. And so one thing led to another. And that's when I realized, I'm like, oh, theater was my yoga. And that's what led me to meditation. That's what led me to Ayurveda. And now I just combine them all. Like some people speak different languages. I speak the language of theater. And I hope to use the language of meditation, theater, and Ayurveda to, for people to use that in their lives. And you can come to us and actually do all of those three things and see how you can approach the same thing in your life, same problem you have, same obstacle or stress, just using different languages, right? So this entire week, for example, we've been talking about stress. And so meditation is the antidote to stress. And so we learn all kinds of how, meditation counterbalances the effects of the fight or flight mode and some practical things you can do, from breathing to, other meditation practices. And then in theater, we talk about obstacles and antagonists.
Exactly.
Right? We have antagonists, and sometimes we are our own antagonists. Sometimes our antagonists are in our minds. Sometimes there are people around us, but also there's realizing that sometimes you play the antagonist role for others, and how you can find a creative solution using role play for an actual problem that you have, or just like that is at least helping you become the observer of that situation. Yeah. And then Ayurveda also, Ayurveda talks about, how the stress interacts with all of our senses. How can you use all of your senses to manage stress, right? And really wake up your whole body, and then use what's available to you, that, the taste, the smells, and everything, to help you feel balanced.
I love that you went through those examples, because I really think it clears, it brings clarity to this idea of having all those three, combinations, which I think it's beautiful. And not only that, you embody that actually. So So it's beautiful to see because it makes sense. Like I couldn't do that, but I know you embody that, and to be able to use those tools to help people to see that. I think it's a beautiful combination, and I think it's wonderful work that you all are doing with Atomica Arts. And I'm so glad to have had you on Mindful City, tuning into life. And I am pretty sure you are going to be back.
Anytime. We can talk about any subject.
I'd love that. I'd love to see, the journey and how more people are even giving form to that. And so I look forward to having you again on the show.
Thank you. I'm open because it's pure potential. You never know how everything will turn out and what's going to happen and what's coming next.
That's so true.
Planting seeds.
Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you for having me, Helen.
Namaste.
Namaste.
To find out more about Atomica Arts and how they focus on developing the pure potential of all people through the Atomica pillars of meditation and mindfulness, theater and improvisation, and Ayurveda, visit them on atomica-arts.com.